Hello everybody and welcome to Goodnight Productions. My name is Ethan Carpenter. First of all, I want to thank everybody for how well my last Reaper video went. That went over a lot better than I ever figured it would. And due to that, I actually have another, hopefully, quick Reaper tutorial for you guys. I was talking to a buddy of mine named Dakota from the band Indomitable. We're here from Indiana. He's the drummer. I highly recommend checking them out. But we were talking about ways that he can improve the mix he sent me earlier today, and I was telling him something about parallel effects, parallel compression, parallel saturation, things of that sort, and he asked me how that really works. So I figured that would make a good video that I could do in a lot less than 40 minutes. I'm not promising anything though. Back in Reaper, and as a quick addendum to my last video, somebody pointed this out for me. The reason why, when I monitored my input here, the reason that there was such a delay is because of our buffer settings, which you can go and edit in here. Like I was talking about last time, your audio system makes a big difference. Direct sound is what works for me when I'm doing something like this and I don't have to worry about monitoring, but that's what your latency down here is. I don't want to mess with the sounds in case it breaks my Focusrite's fun, but if you notch this down to like 4 by 527 or whatever that is, I forgot that I'm using that Streamlabs OBS, which I stream from as well, so I accidentally just activated one of the things. Anyway, if you go and mess with your buffer settings here, you can drop the latency down, but that can really mess with the quality of your audio. Wasapi works a lot better for that. Anyway, so one of the things we're talking about was parallel effects, parallel compression, parallel saturation, and what that does versus what that can do for you and how you go about it. And there's a couple ways to go about it. First of all, I'm using the same song I did last time, Cremated Souls, death metal band out of Fort Wayne. Highly suggest them. This is their song Blood Moon Sacrament, and this is the track that I tried out with. So, in parallel is a couple different things. I'll show you the easiest way to understand it, in my opinion, and then there are different ways you can do it. So, I already have my vocal track here.
Every cloud of smoke,
it's the same thing we did last time. I don't want to use Nectar right now, so let's say this is just a sound. Actually, hold on. We'll turn it on here. We will turn off the modulation though.
Black shadows from the corner of your eye.
Let's just say that I really liked this sound. It's a good starting point, but it needs to be filled out a little bit. You want to do something different. You want to even it up a bit. Let's make a duplicate track. We'll go into here. We'll pretend that this is just the same chain that I did last time when it's not. Let's say, man, this is really good, but I could really use some saturation. Actually, no. Let's start with compression. Like, I really like it, but I want to use some parallel compression. So we're going to use that limiter I talked about in the last video. We'll just solo out what we're doing right now. What I find with harsh metal vocals, and this idea can be used for anything, but I am mainly talking about vocals right now because that's kind of what I do. This is what I like in this. So in the idea of metal vocals, drop down your ceiling and obliterate it. So just go.
Shadows from the corner of your eye. Wizard blocks out the sky.
Super over the top, unnecessary, but when you mix it in, let's hear what it sounds like. Let's just hear the song. We'll have this turned down. This is how I usually recommend doing this. So what you want to do is absolutely obliterate your second track, do what you want with it. If you're doing like a reverb or something on a separate track, you have your wet knob all the way to the right. I'll get into that here more in a second. So let's just listen to this right now. I'm going to drag in the other vocal.
Wizard blocks out the sky. Dusk bursts with the spectacle of horror.
Gonna mute it.
No escape. No capacity.
Bringing it back in. Let me go to a place that has a bit more going on. So what that basically does is you're letting that original vocal come through, and since we're using a compressor really, especially a limiter, really levels off your waveform, absolutely crushes it down. You don't get any dynamics with that. If you're doing a parallel compression of that sort, you can have the best of both worlds. So let me go back in over here. It's a bit more busy on this section. It's not horrible, but let's bring in the other vocal. And it's just the taste.
Souls await their death on blood mode sacrament. Every cloud of smoke.
I don't know. I kind of like that the way it is. Also, I've gotten a lot of follows from whatever my Streamlabs is hooked up to. So Adrian Lim, if you ever watch this video, I saw the stream notification. Don't you worry. So that's parallel compression. Another way to do that, let's just ignore this duplicated track whatsoever. Another way to do parallel compression, the problem is the W1 limiter does not have that. Hold on, let me pull up another compressor. Oh, we'll just open up Reapers. It's real easy to use. We got the Rhea comp. So it's really cool. Let's do aggressive vocal. Basically, and a lot of other compressors, another way to do parallel effects, parallel compression, is they'll have a wet and a dry signal. So I want to like really crank on this. Fast-ish tack, slow-ish release. So this is kind of like... That's kind of like the sound I was getting before. It's really, really crushed. Also clipping a little bit. But if I bring in the dry signal...
Souls await their death on blood mode sacrament. Every cloud of smoke.
Basically the same idea. That is parallel compression, and that idea can go into any other effect, like I'll show you right now. We'll do over here. We got our vocal. I'm not going to use the limiter this time. Basically, this is just doubled now. Another thing I told him to look into was saturation. Now, I'm going to use one of my favorite saturation plugins by Sound... No, it's not. It's SoftTube. SoftTube saturation knob. Same idea. And like I said, this could be done for a lot of different things. I'm just focusing on vocals. Saturation knob, if I want to do some parallel work here, same idea. Let's just solo this out. Let's destroy it.
Every cloud of smoke. Face. Every dark corner.
Absolutely wrecked. I know there's a vocal exciter option too.
Every cloud of smoke. Face. Every dark corner.
Absolutely disgusting to listen to. Let's hear it in the actual mix. Perfect. Now, let's do the same thing. We're gonna play the dry vocal, the quote dry vocal, and we're gonna bring in the saturation.
Every cloud of smoke. Every dark corner.
And you can overdo it.
Souls await their death on blood mode sacrament. Every cloud of smoke.
Muting. You see how thinner that sounds? Bring it back in. Still a little bit extreme. You can hear it. You don't necessarily want to hear it. You just want it to fill in a little bit.
Sacrament.
That's how loud I have it. Now, in this instance, if the music drops, you will want to mute the distorted vocal. We can go even crazier with that. Let's actually just destroy it. A little bit extreme when you go into saturation distortion, but it can really fill out your vocal. And I talked about saturation in the last video as well. That's the basic idea when it comes to parallel effects. You can just absolutely crush all of your stuff and have it really emphasize things. I believe drum rooms, like drum room mics, are often compressed to death and then just brought into the mix and let it fill everything out. Now, I do like how both of the plugins I showed you don't have a dry and wet knob, so let me try and do one more example here. Okay, perfect. The little radiator has the effect knob, so let's listen to what this sounds like.
Every cloud of smoke, every dark corner, rise another crime.
To be honest, just right there sounds pretty good, but let's wreck it.
On blood mode, sacrament, every cloud of smoke.
Absolutely wrecked. Now let's dial it to taste.
Every dark corner, rise another crime. Carpenter souls await their death. On blood mode, sacrament, every cloud of smoke.
Same idea. If your plugin has a dry and wet knob, you can do it all in the box, but sometimes the easiest way to do it is to just drop on that duplicate track and put all of your effects on there. That's not even getting into like auxiliary tracks where you have an effect only and then doing sends and returns. That's another thing all on its own, but that's the basic idea that I wanted to show Dakota. So that is that. Also, I don't know if Pro Tools has it, but on Reaper, for every effect, it has a wet and dry knob. Every single effect has a wet and dry knob. So like over here, if we went back to this plugin, the soft tube. Oh no, it doesn't have a wet and dry knob. There you go. That's another way to do it. Anyway, guys, that was just another little and like a lot shorter tutorial than my last one. If anybody actually has any requests for me to try to explain, feel free to let me know down below. My name is Ethan Carpenter from Goodnight Productions. I'll keep doing these as long as people have questions and I feel like I can explain it relatively decently. Remember to subscribe and hit that bell if you want to hear any more Reaper tutorials or just anything else I do. All of my other links and things like Twitch and I do vocal covers and things like that will be in the description as well. I will see you guys later.